I've always loved getting out into the bush. There's something calming about being miles from the nearest road, surrounded by trees, no phone signal, no people. Just the sound of the wind through the gums and the crunch of dry twigs underfoot. I used to go camping solo a lot, my kind of reset button. But what happened on my last trip? It changed everything. This wasn't supposed to be anything special. Just a quiet weekend away. Tent, esky, a few beers, and the Kurong swamps. I'd been out there before. It's rugged but beautiful. Brackish water, reeds for miles, and that eerie kind of silence that makes the birds sound louder than they should. You'd think being alone out there would make you feel vulnerable, but it always made me feel in control. Until that night. I got there around midday, found a good spot not too close to the waterline, but near enough to cast a line if I felt like fishing. I set up camp, cracked a beer, and kicked back to enjoy the stillness. Nothing felt off at first, though now that I think about it, the bush was quieter than usual. Not in a peaceful way, more like the kind of quiet when something's watching you. By the time the sun started dipping, the air turned cold fast. Typical swamp chill. The shadows across the water looked longer than they should have. That's when I noticed the first thing. No mozzies. None. Not even a buzz. I'd been out to the Kurong enough to know that's not normal. The mozzies usually eat you alive. But that night, nothing. Not a bite. Not a sound. I told myself it was a blessing. Maybe the wind had shifted. Maybe I'd finally picked a good spot. I stoked the fire, heated up a tin of stew, and leaned back with a second beer. Stars came out in full, bright and sharp. But the longer I sat there, the more I got that feeling, like I wasn't alone. There was a splash out in the swamp. Not just a plop like a fish jumping. A proper splash, heavy, like something dragging itself into the water. I grabbed my torch and pointed it toward the reeds. Couldn't see a thing. The beam just disappeared into the blackness like the swamp was swallowing the light. I listened. Nothing. Then something moved. I didn't see it, not properly, but the reeds shifted like someone was crawling through them. I stood up slowly, shined my light again. Still nothing. I must have stood there for 10-15 minutes just staring, waiting. Eventually, I sat back down, telling myself it was probably a wallaby or maybe even a big goanna. I kept the torch close and tried to focus on the fire. The silence pressed in like cotton in my ears. Not a breeze, not a chirp. Even the flames seemed quieter. That's when I heard it. Just behind me, maybe 10 meters into the bush. This sloshing noise, like something walking through ankle-deep water. But the ground behind me was dry. I spun around, torch raised, heart hammering. Again, nothing. Just trees and shadows. Then came the smell. Rotten eggs, dead fish, and something else, like old meat. It hit me so hard I gagged. My eyes watered. I backed toward the fire, gripping the torch like a weapon. And that's when I saw the eyes. Two of them low to the ground at first, then they rose. Slow. Higher than my own height. Reflecting just enough light to gleam yellow. I didn't run. Couldn't. My legs locked. The eyes blinked once. Then whatever it was let out this sound. Not a growl. More like a wet gurgle, thick and full of something wrong. Like water moving through lungs. And then it stepped forward. I still didn't see its full shape, just the outline. It was massive, hunched, dripping, and its skin, if you could call it that, looked slick, rubbery, almost translucent. The air around it felt cold, like it was dragging a freezer behind it. It moved like it had too many joints, unnatural angles. One long arm brushed past a branch and left slime behind. It opened its mouth wide, wider than anything should, but it didn't lunge. It just stood there watching me, and then it spoke, not like you or me, more like a mouth trying to mimic a human voice. It sounded wet, broken, like someone drowning while trying to talk. It said, "Help me." That did it. I bolted, didn't grab my gear, didn't look back. I just ran into the dark, barefoot, torch swinging wild. Every branch seemed to grab at me. I tripped more than once, got cut up, face smacked by branches, but I didn't stop. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out, found a patch of sand and collapsed. The stars above me were still and silent. My chest heaved. My heart felt like it would break through my ribs, but there was no sound behind me.
No pursuit.
I waited and waited. Eventually, I stood up, still shaking, still trying to figure out what just happened. That's when I realized. I circled back. I was standing right beside my camp, but it wasn't the same. My tent ripped to shreds, the fire out cold, the logs charred black, and in the ash, prints. Not human, not animal. 3 toes, webbed, clawed, like a bird's, but huge, deep, and there were 2 sets. One set coming from the swamp, and one circling the fire. I don't remember deciding to stay. Any rational part of me knew I should have turned around and hiked out of there. Gear be damned. But I didn't. Maybe I was in shock. Maybe something in the air was keeping me there. Or maybe I already knew. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't gonna let me leave. I rebuilt the fire. Don't ask me why. It felt like the only thing I could do that made sense. Like if I could get the flames going again, I could push the fear back into the trees. The prints in the ash were still there, circling where I'd been sitting. My footprints only went one way out. That meant whatever had stalked me came after I'd fled. It had walked right where I'd been sleeping, right behind me. I sat with my back against a tree, the fire in front of me, torch resting on my knee, and my knife clutched in my hand. Useless, probably, but it made me feel like I still had some control. The night dragged, cold, heavy, wrong. The stars were there, but they felt distant, like I was looking through thick glass. I fought off sleep as long as I could, but at some point, my eyes must have shut. And that's when the dream started. Except it didn't feel like a dream. I was back at the swamp's edge, standing ankle deep in water that looked like ink. All around me, the reeds whispered. Not in the wind, but like voices. Whispers I couldn't quite understand, curling around me like smoke. The water began to ripple, slow at first, then violently. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, and then something broke the surface. Not the creature, not yet. It was a girl, maybe 7 or 8, pale skin, dark, wet hair clinging to her face. Her eyes were wide, glassy, unfocused. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. She raised one arm and pointed at me. Then her skin cracked, split, like something inside her wanted out. I woke up choking. The fire had gone out. My chest was tight, like something was pressing down on me. I looked up and saw nothing, but I felt it. Something had been right there. I could still smell it. That same swamp rot, thick in the air like it had settled into the dirt. I stood, every part of me shaking. I needed to move, to do something. So I grabbed my torch, flicked it on, and started walking toward the water. I don't know what I was hoping to find. Maybe signs of tracks. Maybe proof that I hadn't imagined it all. Maybe a reason. The swamp was still, the water like glass. But as I moved through the reeds, I heard it again. That sound. The gurgle, like a clogged drain full of blood. Closer this time. I froze, light scanning the darkness, catching glints off the reeds, the shine of water, and something else. Eyes, dozens of them, small, animalistic, blinking in and out between the reeds like whatever was out there didn't have a single face, just a collection of watching pieces. And then, from the water, a shape rose. It was humanoid, barely. Long arms that dragged in the water. Skin like eel flesh stretched over mismatched bones. The head looked too smooth. No eyes.
No sé.
Just a slit for a mouth that opened slowly into something far too wide. A sound came from it. Not a word. Not a growl. Just a low, wet sigh. And it wasn't alone. All around it, the reeds moved. Shapes slipping through the darkness, circling. The air grew thicker. The torch flickered. My skin crawled with the certainty that I was being herded. I turned and ran. The reeds tore at my legs. I hit dry land and didn't stop until I slammed straight into a tree trunk. Fell hard. Knocked the wind out of me. I sat there gasping, the torch spinning away somewhere into the bush. And then, a whisper, right in my ear. "Daniel." I swear to God, it was my mum's voice. But she died 4 years ago. I scrambled back, heart going feral in my chest. That's when I saw the figure standing near the edge of the clearing. Pale, still, head tilted too far to the side. It looked almost human, but its joints were wrong. Bent in ways they shouldn't be. And it was smiling. That's when I remembered something. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to tell me stories about the Bunyip. Said it didn't just kill people, it collected them. Wore their voices, their faces. Used them to draw others in. He used to say, "If you hear someone calling your name out near the swamp, run. It's not who you think." I never believed him. Now I wasn't so sure. The creature took a step toward me, and I caught a better look. Its body wasn't solid. It rippled, pulsing like it was made of liquid skin. And in the center of its chest, faces. Faces, shifting in and out, crying, screaming, smiling. I grabbed the torch, flicked it back on, and swung it across the clearing. The light hit the thing square in the face, and it flinched, just for a second. But it was enough. I ran again, heading not for my camp but deeper into the bush. I didn't have a plan. I just knew staying was death. My boots pounded the dry earth, branches whipping past, torch beam dancing wildly through trees. Then I found something. An old shack. Not on any map. No track leading in or out. Just there, sunken, gray, forgotten. Door half hanging off. Looked like it had been abandoned for decades. I ducked inside, slammed the door shut, and shoved an old chest in front of it. My heart wouldn't slow. My whole body shook. The inside stank of mildew and age, but I didn't care. I sat in the corner, torch on, knife in hand, back against the wall. That's when I noticed the carvings. On the walls, the floor, the ceiling, symbols, repeated patterns, spirals, words scratched deep into the timber. One phrase again and again. Don't listen to it. Another. Don't look at its face. And beneath them, etched deeper than all the rest, almost gouged into the wood. If it speaks with the voice of someone you love, it already knows your name. I don't know how long I stayed in that shack. Could have been hours. Could have been a full day. Time didn't feel real anymore. My body was stiff, every muscle screaming. But I didn't move. I didn't sleep. Just sat there. Knife gripped so hard my fingers cramped. Torch beam fixed on the door. Outside, the swamp made noises no swamp should make. Soft splashes, heavy thuds, wet dragging sounds. And voices. Voices I knew. My grandfather, my sister, my ex, all of them dead. All of them calling my name from the darkness with a tone that twisted somewhere between pleading and mocking. The thing out there wasn't just a creature. It was something else. A mimic, a hunter, collector, and somehow it had latched onto me. Eventually, the torch began to flicker. My heart dropped. I banged it against my palm. Nothing. Just a slow, dying strobe. I dug through my pack for spare batteries. Found one, jammed it in, prayed. The light held, but something was wrong. The air inside the shack had shifted. The smell was back, thicker than ever. I turned slowly, and in the far corner, I saw it. Not the Bunyip. A hole. Small, circular, perfectly carved through the timber floor. At first, I thought it was just rot. But then I realized it wasn't there when I arrived. And it was breathing. A low inhale, like wind dragging over water, came from the hole. Pulled at me. My skin tightened. My vision blurred. I backed away, and that's when the knocking started again. From the roof. One knock, then another. and another closer now directly overhead. Slow, steady, like fingers tapping wood. The shack creaked. Dust rained from the ceiling. Then silence. Dead silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. I raised the torch slowly. A shadow shifted behind the warped boards above. Then, in one smooth, impossible motion, the thing poured through the cracks in the timber. Not crashed. Not fell. Poured. Like liquid meat forced into a shape it barely understood. It landed inches in front of me, unfolding into something tall and thin and wrong. No eyes. No face. Just that too wide mouth. And those whispering voices trapped somewhere inside its chest. It stared at me with nothing. Then it spoke. Not just one voice. All of them. At once. "Daniel, you came back." It smiled. And something in me snapped. I grabbed the torch, flicked it straight into its face. The skin boiled, actually hissed. The thing reeled back. Not in pain, more like annoyance. But it was something. So I ran. Again, this time into the swamp itself, through the reeds, into the water, mud up to my knees, pulling at my legs like hands. Behind me, I heard the thing moving, no footsteps, just the slop of flesh hitting water. I waded deeper. The cold wrapped around me like ice. The swamp felt endless. The trees blurred. I couldn't tell what was sky anymore. The only light I had was the moon, and even that started to fade. That's when I saw it. Clearing. In the middle, an island barely more than a mound of earth. And on it, bones. Piles of them. Bleached white, stacked high, some small, some disturbingly large. Skulls. Ribs. Vertebrae. Clean. Picked clean. The nest. The Bunyip's nest. And in the center, rising like some rotted monument, was a totem. Twisted branches, reeds, rope, and at the top, a human face. Not a mask. A real face. Peeled. Dried. It grinned. My body went numb. Not from cold. From dread so deep it felt like my blood had turned to lead. I turned to run and slipped. Fell hard. The water swallowed me. Darkness rushed in from all sides. My lungs screamed. My hands found nothing but sludge. I kicked, thrashed, clawed upward. Something brushed my leg, then wrapped around it. A hand. No hands. Dozens. They pulled. But just before I blacked out, I broke the surface, gasped, and clawed onto the bank of the island. I didn't have time to think. The thing was rising behind me. The water split like it was afraid of it. I grabbed the only thing I could, the torch, somehow still in my pocket, and I aimed it at the totem. The whole thing lit up like a flare. The faces screamed. The air around the nest pulsed. The water boiled. The bunyip reared back. Not in pain, but rage. I knew then it wasn't scared of light. It was scared of recognition, of being seen. I turned the beam on it, held it there. The skin bubbled. It shuddered, let out a roar that sounded like 1,000 people begging to die. And then it disappeared. Not ran, not sank, just was gone. The swamp went still. The smell faded, and I collapsed. I don't remember how I got back. I woke up in hospital 3 days later. Some hikers found me naked, covered in mud and scratches, speaking gibberish. They said I kept repeating one phrase over and over again. Don't listen to it. Don't look at its face. They thought I'd lost it. Maybe I had. But I know what I saw. I know what's out there. And I know this. The bunyip isn't just a legend. It isn't just some Aboriginal cautionary tale told around the fire. It's real. And it's still out there watching. So if you ever find yourself out near the Coorong, and the frogs go silent, and the water looks too still, don't wait for it to show itself. Run. Because if you hear it speak, it already knows your name. If you were me, would you have stayed by the fire, or run the moment you saw those eyes? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know what you would have done. And if you've ever experienced something strange out in the bush, share it below. Because maybe you weren't alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the story with someone who camps solo. They might want to think twice next time they hear their name whispered in the dark.